Hello and welcome to another episode of 4Tims in a podcast. It's Monday the 13th of December, just after 8 o'clock, and myself, Darren and Andy are just going to get together and discuss the goings on at Celtic over the last week or so, and with a wee special focus on the Celtic Motherwell game yesterday, which Celtic won 1-0 thanks to Tom Rogic's well-worked winner. Darren, will start with you. Big 3 points yesterday, considering we started without a striker, and another game where we were 7 points behind going into the game due to results earlier on in the day. But as I say, big 3 points and keeps this good winning run in the league going.
Absolutely, Danny. December's always a hectic schedule, and December's always just for getting games won. We've had a few recently, like the Aberdeen game, Hearts game, St Johnston in the Cup as well, where you just see a different side to this Celtic team, where early in the season we were blowing away teams and just coming out of the traps and being 3-0 up at half time or whatever. But no, it was obviously very different from the Dundee United game the week previous. It was very much one that we had to grind out. As you mentioned, we didn't have an out and out striker. I know it seemed to shift between Rogic and Turnbull and the sort of false nine, or just sort of playing as forward as they could, but you could it was definitely noticeable that we didn't have a striker, so it's credit to the team that they were able to find a way to win. I thought the goal itself was exceptional. It's one of the ones that, obviously, if Tony Watt or whoever was on the edge of the box for Motherwell reads it, then probably clears it easy, but when Callum McGregor's able to drag him out, it's a great finish by Tom Rogic, and I thought he was really good and could have easily had another few goals. And I just genuinely, it was just one of the games that you had to dig out the win. The team were solid enough. Joe Hart, again, exceptional. Like, the fact that we got this guy for £1 million is just, it's going to prove to be one of our best bits of business in quite a while. And he, yet again, was just brilliant. I thought the centre-halves really played well yesterday, especially Carter Vickers. I know Starfelt's not done much wrong either, but I know there's a lot of talk about how much we'd have to pay for Carter Vickers, but for me, he just looks absolutely solid now, and I just full credit to the team for being able to see it out. I don't think Motherwell really pressed hard for a equaliser in the second half. I know their Twitter account seemed to say that they deserved a point at least, but I didn't see that. Obviously, apart from the double save Hart has in the first half, I didn't really think they had any real pressure on us. And for me, you hate bringing it up, but yet again, I thought the best player for the opposition was the man in black, who, yet again, it's another refereeing performance, which looks terrible. So you had the first half where Motherwell got an early booting, which was a standard booting, but then he seemed to let them go for the next half an hour, letting Rogic get done a few times, and there's quite a few others, and just generally let's sweep on the things where he's speaking about, like, the way that they break up play and how they're telling Celtic to move throw-ins and goal kicks, whereas you've got Motherwell who are getting all the time they want, and the goalkeeper's getting all the time they want when they were level as well to take goal kicks. I hate to bring it up again because I feel it is a common theme, but until the standard of refereeing does improve, then I think we need to call it out, because it's something that Celtic are having to overcome. And Danny, I thought it was great credit to Celtic that they did overcome it and genuinely just digged out a good result yesterday.
I agree. I think obviously the 3 points is the most important thing, especially with it happened the other game that it happened during the day, that you just need to win by any means necessary. And again with the ref, I just thought he did a really bad game. I thought he lost control of the game a bit. I thought the one that got me was, I don't know the boy's name, but the big Motherwell centre half, who Rogic skipped. Celtic were on the break, Rogic skipped by him and he just kind of charged him down to the ground. It's like a textbook booking, but he missed, I think, was it Taylor that had been wiped out in that move? Again, he played to play on, and he thought, right, well, he's got to book 2 of them. Well, okay, maybe he'll book 1 of them, and he didn't even book any of them. And it's like, with the Celtic players, opponents that play for Celtic, like, what do they need to do to get booked? But I just thought it was a strange game. I thought the first half was really open. I thought Motherwell came to win the game, which was a credit to them. But that double save for Joe Hart was brilliant. He makes himself really big. He had another really good save. I think it was for a shot that was No, it was a double save. The first save was great, the deflection, and then to come out and spread himself and get the ball was brilliant. I thought we were a wee bit disjointed. It just shows what Kyogo does bring to the team when he's there, because I thought the midfield at times looked awful overcrowded yesterday. And when Kyogo's playing, he obviously stretches the game a wee bit and creates more space. I thought that space wasn't there. I thought Turnbull was alright. I thought he tried to get involved further up the field, but he did kind of look out his depth a wee bit. I think Abada is I don't know. I think Abada's maybe started to level out a wee bit. And at the start of the season, there was a lot of times he got the ball yesterday where if he'd have got it at the start of the season, he was cutting inside and having a shot or going down the outside and rattling the ball in. And I thought yesterday he was, as if he was nervous, maybe trying too hard to create something. Forrest's wee cameo wasn't very inspiring. I thought Johnston played well for the 60 minutes it was on. I'd really like something to go good for that boy. It's not really happened yet, but I thought he stuck at it. But Andy, the winner in these tight games where we need anything. Sometimes when I watch Celtic this season at home, when teams are just sitting in, and maybe we've not got a Kyogo, we've not got a Jota, you just think it's going to take something special to get us in front here. And yesterday we got it.
We did. I mean, I don't really think MD was under any massive illusions about the game we were going to have. It's in a game without a striker. The injury problems seem to be mounting up again. It was one of the things, and then obviously Forrest goes off early on, so we're having to sort of adapt to that as well. So it was always going to be a difficult game. Motherwell were always going to try and make it as difficult as they possibly could. They're having a decent enough season in the top six, and like you say, I thought when given the opportunity, they were trying to sort of play forward and create some chances of their own, which is more than can be said for a lot of teams that have came to sort of play Celtic this season. But I think disjointed was the word that I used to use when we were speaking about it in the group chat, and you've brought it up again. That was probably the best way I could have described a lot of what I've seen. But again, I think that was just a sort of probably just a byproduct of the recent games and the injuries and various things like that. And it's strange because obviously the performance the boys put in against Betis, we were in a much changed side. There was a lot of changes done, and they were done a credit to themselves how they performed in that game. And then a lot of obviously the first team boys came back and it felt disjointed, which was odd. But as I say, I think that a lot of that was just to do with the team and the lineup, and we're missing sort of 2 or 3 sort of front three, if you like, and Kyogo and Jota, and then as I said already, Forrest has been half. Abada's tapered out a wee bit, which we've all said would happen, with him being so young as well. And then Johnston's not been great either, so it's all sort of played a factor because very much the way we play, it all sort of stems for the front, in terms of the way we go forward and obviously pressing the game. So that's played a big part for me and for watching it. But as you say, it's a credit to the team and a credit to where we're at that we're able to actually win these games. We've seen last season these were games that we weren't winning, and that's really sort of what cost us so early on in the season to end up so far behind. That it was games like that we just couldn't get out of the line, and things wouldn't go our way. But like you say, it's a simple sort of goal, really. It's something you see teams trying all the time, but more often than not, anytime you see it trying, it's either scuds the first guy and the bodies that's in front of them, or goes flying out the bar. But Big Tam is doing Big Tam things, slots it away as easy as you like. Tumble, I don't know. I think you've probably been a bit too kind, in my opinion, Danny. I think he's been well off it. I know he got an assist, but other than that, I couldn't really do much. Think how much that he done. But again, I do get he was obviously playing well at a position and being asked to sort of instigate the press and play something he's really not familiar with. But for me, I just think he's somebody that needs probably a rest. Like, he just needs. I think he's played every game this season, barring obviously the Betis game, maybe if I'm not mistaken. I think he's played every game this season. Although I know he came off the bench for 20 minutes against them, but aside to that, I think he started just about all of them. So I think he probably needs a rest, and somebody needs to teach him how to use his left foot. That would also be handy. But it's the most important thing was the 3 points. People are shiting themselves with the Kyogo news, which is obviously appearing to be much more positive than the initial sort of fear. But it's 3 points in the bag, and our home win, we keep moving.
We keep moving. I didn't think Tumble did a great game. I just thought there were times I thought he came, tried to link the play up, and he tried to start the press. There was a couple of times where he got the ball and he looked forward, and you could almost see that he was like, "Oh wait, no, it's meant to be me that's up there." But I thought it was just a good game. I thought it was a good win. I thought the second half on complete control. I didn't. It was like the Aberdeen game a couple of weeks ago, and maybe the Hearts game where I thought we were brilliant in the first half in both of the games, and then I thought the second half we kind of levelled it a wee bit. And I wouldn't say
I never feared conceding really at any moment in the game.
No, that's what I was getting at.
I thought
With Aberdeen and Hearts, I didn't think they were in the game, but there was always that kind of, especially the last 15, 20 minutes, I was like, right, what if they get a corner, or what if they get a throw in, or a set piece, and especially Hearts when the boy missed that header right at the start of the second half. But I thought we were in complete control of those games. But yesterday I thought there was a much more, even like another level of control that we were in, and Motherwell just never had it in them to come and attack. But it's a massive 3 points, and we can only, I mean, at this time, the only way we can affect the standings in the league table is to win our games, which includes beating them in a couple of weeks. But we're doing all right now. Dan, just on you, you mentioned like the Betis game last week when he made hundreds of changes. I didn't get to see the Betis game because I was working. I think I seen the last 20 minutes. But was there anybody in the kind of quote unquote B team that impressed you that night?
I think most of them that played impressed me. Obviously, they're right unlucky when Ajeti gets injured very early, which brought Kyogo in, which everybody knows. Then seeing Kyogo pull up later in the game. But in terms of the players that were brought in, I thought Liam Shaw was really good. I thought Scales as well was, I don't know if it was an injury, but Scales wasn't even in the squad yesterday. I thought he impressed at Paradise and then impressed again on Thursday night. Like, I know Betis made changes as well, but they were still a really good team that they put out. And on paper, I think, and going to the game, I know I'm quite open to admit it, that I thought Betis were going to do a number on us. I thought, if I'm just running through the team, I thought Bain was dodgy. He's unlucky with the first goal that Betis scored, but I thought his distribution was terrible, and he just, I think if Ange moves for another keeper in January, I won't be surprised. Urugide played well. I thought he's another one who impressed in pre-season, but you've not really seen him since. I thought he was pretty good at right back. I think who else? Welsh obviously takes his goal well, and you go through the team, even the subs that come on, Ewan Henderson, I know he scores with a tap in with his first touch, but I don't know what's happening with Ewan Henderson at Celtic. It's been a good few years now, and he never seems to get the opportunity to have a run in the team. And there's been a few managers in that time, but I even think back to when Rodgers left, the following night at Tynecastle, Ewan Henderson started and played very well. He was involved in the first goal that night, and I'd like to see a bit more of him, but I don't know if he's just one that is just a bit off maybe in quality, because it's obviously, as I say, it has been a few years and he's not made the breakthrough yet. Mikey Johnston, like you say, nothing's gone right for him, but I thought his decision making, and especially on Thursday, was pretty poor, especially the one that everybody seen when Celtic were going through and he had a man either side and somehow managed to play it to a Betis defender when I didn't think it was possible. But no, I thought, do you know the one thing I would say about Danny? The fact that I think that Betis team that played on Thursday would absolutely wipe the floor with every SPFL team. So at the times when we have been sort of struggling this season with a lack of depth, it was sort of, I thought these players put up a good argument for asking why they've not been more involved when we've been looking for games to maybe rotate it a bit. But I don't know. I was thinking about this at the game. Do you think that's more down to the fact that the B team's there and they're just reluctant to pull these guys away from that, or do you think it is just a case that Ange didn't see any sort of time to put any of these guys in?
I don't know. I mean, maybe a bit of both. That players can. I don't know how many of the players have played the other night actually have played many games with the B team, but I'm just thinking it's tough to throw them in. I mean, Ange got a lot of stick for, even though he couldn't do anything about it. His hands were completely tied. But he started a Champions League qualifier with Stephen Welsh and Dane Murray, and Dane Murray's not been seen since, which is a bit of a shame because I actually thought he played really well. But it's just tough to throw them in. Like the pressure's so great at Celtic where, you know what I mean, you get lambasted for getting Kyogo a rest a couple of weeks ago. And then, you know, he's been playing him out right to get more people involved. And I just think at this moment in time, then it's just stick in with what you've got, play your best 11 if you can, and get through to January and then get reinforcements in. But I was just going to ask Andy, because he was at the game as well, but did any of them make a case, Andy? I want to hear more about the two boys for Sheffield Wednesday. What did you make of them?
I thought that Big Urigidi, I thought the first sort of 10 minutes, I was like, oh, Jesus, fuck, thinking absolute diddy. But I think it was nerves that played a part in it. He looked a wee bit sort of shaky. But after that, I thought the big man did really settle into the game. He's done absolute unit, which we all knew, but he's got pace in him. He can shift it. And I thought there was a bit of maybe youthful sort of naivety, I would put it down to. I don't think it was anything too concerning in terms of his positioning at times. But again, that's maybe not even just purely down to him. That's probably the back line that's never played with each other before, and various things like that. So I was actually really impressed with how he performed at right back. And I think that hopefully he'll keep improving. Hopefully he gets more chances there. Obviously we've got Ralston, who's sort of came onto a game and really turned his Celtic career round. We've got Juranovic, who we know he was signed basically to play right back, given that he's playing left back most of the season, but he's obviously you're signing a right back like him to play in that position. So I think Irigidi's got to look at it and probably take heart for sort of what Ralston's done, to be honest with you. Somebody that's career looked sort of finished at Celtic, now he's ended up with getting a new contract and things like that. So I think that there's a lot of positives to take with his performance. Sure, I would say I thought he had a good game. I thought he was tidy in the ball, especially for he's quite a big guy. I thought he was tidy in the ball. Nothing he done sort of stood out massively, Amy. Like he wasn't the type of thing I'm coming away raving about him, but I thought it was a very tidy performance against a massively experienced Betis midfield. I mean, Shaw was up against players like William Carvalho in the middle of the park. Now, again, a guy who's sort of played for Sporting Lisbon, played for Betis, so he's played for sort of two of the better leagues in Europe. Then there's experience like Joaquin and Christian Tello. Do you know what I mean? Very, very experienced football players that have played in Spain for a long, long time and things like that. So I thought, it was a very assured performance for the both of them. I know there were people that Andrew spoke about before and saying that he was obviously reluctant to give these guys game times, and I agree with Andrew at times. Like people they often beg for a lot of people get flung in, but you've got to be careful, particularly with young players. That you've seen it countless times where people can get flung into sort of really high pressure games, and it can be the making of a lot of players, but it can break a lot of players, and it can really dent confidence. And I think we're seeing now. I think that game showed a lot of why Andrew's been very careful with players like that that's been brought in. Scales, again, Darren touched on it, somebody who did impress me, I must say. I thought after he came on, obviously, against Dundee United, get his goal, took it really, really well. Showed a sort of calm and composed head to make a finish like that, particularly for being a left back. A lot of people would have snatched at it and tried to put the laces through it, but although it took a nick, he was very composed in the way he went about it. And then again, against Betis, I thought that boy's done himself absolutely no harm whatsoever. Playing that position. He actually looks comfortable in the ball, as well as happy to get him down the line. He's obviously got a presence about him as well. So he's got a lot of attributes that make him a good player. And I wouldn't be surprised I don't know if there was maybe a niggle or whatever happened against Betis as to why he wasn't on the bench. Against Motherwell, why he wasn't on the bench or anything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him back in the sort of match day squad. And probably in the coming weeks, to be honest with you. Other than that, in fact, I would actually give a mention to Sorrell. I said it to use up until I thought the booking was the most fucking nonsense thing I've ever heard, which is bizarre considering I think just me and just about everybody else I know had Sorrell to get booked because it felt like an absolute given pre-match. But up until he get took off, I thought that was one of his better performances in a Celtic tap. It seemed like every time he went in for a tackle, he won the ball. He was just constantly. He was for once. He felt as if he was sort of using his brain, which is something we've not seen too much of because you're usually seeing him just fucking booting people up.
Andy, can I just say I agree with that completely. I was listening to an Celtic podcast. I'll not name it, but they called Sorrell's performance on Thursday. They were calling him a heedless chicken and that, and I know we've called him rash and raw, but I'm completely with you. I forgot to mention when Danny asked me that, but I thought Sorrell was really good, and I thought his booting was totally undeserved on Thursday, so I'd give him a shout out as well.
I'll not get into what I think about a lot of shite people talk about football, but it really was. I would challenge anybody to show me anything he done in that game, which would sort of show that in his performance, other than it was a very, very assured performance, probably one of his best in a Celtic jersey. The booking was, I've seen it again a couple of times since, and it's the biggest fucking lot of shite I've ever seen. And actually, I felt bad for him because as a central midfielder, getting booked really does, it's like fucking putting handcuffs on you in that position, because they're some of the busiest people in the park, and particularly the way he plays as well. And it probably played a factor in why he came off ultimately, which is understandable. But he really, really did impress me in that game. And it's obviously something they've been working on, because you knew there was that raw ability there, Darren, but that was always, as we spoke about, you just felt as if he was rash. He was just, didn't have the football's just about as much sort of in the heat as much as it is with the feet. Like, the best players their football IQ's through the roof. So it's hopefully something that he's learning, that you don't need to constantly be fucking battering up somebody's arse and booting them 10 feet in the air. Other than that, I don't think there was Welsh had a good game, I'm assured. Montgomery, I'd like to see Montgomery loaned out in January, maybe to give the examples of who we've used before, your Ayers and your Christies. Just let the boy go and play football. He was obviously starting these out wide, these sort of favoured positions, I would put it, but that boy needs to go and get a right good run of games somewhere where there's less pressure than coming into the Celtic team and being asked to play like that. I think that would be the best thing for his career and his development. And McCarthy, I'm not even going to go into, because he's just a hide and seek champion anytime the back lines get the ball. Then it must have rubbed off in Beaton against Motherwell. Actually, that's something I forgot to pick up on. He was just doing his best McCarthy impression anytime the back line had the ball, and that was really, really pissing me off. But on Johnston, Danny, I'm just done with that boy at this point. I think a coward is probably the best way I would explain it, because he just looks somebody that does not ever want to take any form of responsibility in taking the ball. And it's at what point do we just cut our losses and just say, you're going in to leave, because there's too much. I don't know how. At the best of times, we're obviously looking to develop players and sell them on and all the rest of it, but there comes a time where you need to realise at the end of the day it is a business. We can't just have passengers taking wages and offering nothing to the team. He's getting older. Is he 23-year-old now? Granted, he could have another 10 years of the game, but he's not going to be 10 years at Celtic. Let's be honest about it. He's far from good enough. He's got ability, but again, it comes back to what I was talking about with Sorrell. He just doesn't have a footballing brain. That decision making against Betis when he was 1-on-1 was nothing short of a fucking disgrace to do that. If you don't bury it yourself, you've got to give somebody else a chance of burying it. But he just almost completely stops before getting the ball away. The amount of times I see whoever the left back is, whether it's Taylor or somebody else, looking for somebody to give the body, but Johnston's too busy hiding behind the fullback, refusing to make a move and ask for it. Refusing to take people on. It's all the same sort of stuff I hear people having a go at Forrester with an absolute vengeance. But the difference is Forrest has done it for us before. You know he's got something in him. Johnston's never really done that on a consistent basis, and for me, it's someday in January I'd be looking to just offload and make him somebody else's problem. But all in that, it's felt bad for a Yeti, but that's about
it. No, but I think it was a Hearts game. I watched Johnston, and I thought I was finished with him, and then, as I say, only seen 20 minutes of a Betis game, and I was genuinely gutted for him when I just wanted, because he scored that lovely finish, and his goal was rightly ruled out offside. But then you get through and goal, and he showed he wanted the ball when he went and took it, and I thought, just slot it in, and then he get caught in 2 minds or 3 minds, and end up making an arse. And it was just that minute where I was just, do you know what, I was like, I feel so bad for him. I want something good to go his way. Coward, and that. I think it's harsh, but at the same time, he's really, really toiling at a minute, and I think that.
But just see the thing is, Dan, see for me, any football player, I would add James McCarthy, another one, fucking coward. Anybody who in that Celtic team doesn't want the ball pretty much all the time, you're a fucking coward.
No, but see, for me, it's when Johnston has the ball, it's the problem. He runs his head down. I don't think he lacks for winning the ball, but
that's probably why he doesn't fucking want it. It's just useless with it.
No, but well, that's another story. But I think it's a bit harsh to say he doesn't want the ball. It's when he's got the ball that it really frustrates me.
Honestly, watch it. Oh, McCarthy's the worst man, right? He's too busy just hiding behind any midfielder that he can see when we've got the ball at the back. But Johnston's the same. They're all the exact same. There's an utter refusal for certain players in that team to make space for their teammates or to move, to create anything for fear of wanting fucking. But there can't be any other reason. And it makes it worse where the coward also comes in, because he does that stupid fucking thing when the ball's in the air for either a 50-50 or it's a second ball. Again, just fucking put yourself in the road. Do something. Don't just stand there flat-footed and watch it. There's one thing that really does get to me at times about certain players is that their refusal. We don't win enough second balls, and it's a massive problem at times. And there's just certain elements of the game that you really can give yourself a better opportunity, and it's things like that. It's these small, fine margins that will dig you out at times, and it's cowardice. There's no other way to describe it other than cowardice. Cowering away for the balls if it's got big fucking metal spikes on it. But it's bonkers.
Right. Celtic won the game, and I don't know. I don't think we need to go the Kyogo thing, do we? I think we're quite. I mean, it's been done to. It's been fairly done over the last 4 or 5 days.
Done to the death, Danny. But we'll just leave it on. Everybody moaned the answer.
Aye, it was a bad.
Cruising.
It backfired, but let's be honest, it's not as if he had much to look at. And I actually thought yesterday you seen it. Not that we're going to labour it, but I actually thought you seen it that the first half, or when we didn't really create much, or there was nothing up front, I thought that's why he brought Kyogo on, because Betis probably would have ran out of tappies if we never had a bit of a focal point up front. But anyway, Wednesday night, Darren, big game away to Ross County, who are kind of like one of the daft yo-yo teams that I don't think they won again for ages, and then they put a couple of decent results together. Tricky away game for us. We've got the luxury of playing at the same time as our closest rivals this time. What do you think it'll go? Do you think it'll be another just routine one away from home, or are you quite worried about this one?
I'm not worried about it. I think it'll be a bad day when I'm worried about us going to Ross County, no matter how depleted we are. Obviously, first time we've been there since our old favourite Neil Lennon's last game. He was obviously sacked about 48 hours after we lost there. So
should give them a Guardiola.
I hopefully we'll be taking some sort of medal or handshake up to them. But no, obviously midweek in December up in Dingwall's going to be tricky conditions. I know they beat Dundee at the weekend. It was a sort of topsy-turvy game. I was going to say I hope Kyogo will be back, but the way Ange was talking yesterday about how if you ask the physio team, they'll say 2 or 3 weeks, but if you ask Kyogo, he'll say he's ready. But I think you need to look to the physio team and just sort of tell Kyogo to wait another few days at the very least before you're considering it. I don't know, it seems to be weird. I know Giacomakis seemed to pick an injury up at, was it Dundee? I think he got an injury and he's not been seen since, but it's unfortunate for guys like him and Ajeti, because with Kyogo being out, it would have been a great time for them to really contribute to the team. If we do go up there with a striker, then I think it'll probably be another low scoring game, and we've just got to hope that we'll come out on the right side of it. I think we will. You've got the cup final coming up on Sunday as well, which is obviously it's almost imperative now. I know Forrest came off, and then I know Ange says that Mikey Johnston was the 100%, and that's why he came off as well. So it really is imperative at this stage that we don't sort of lose any more attacking players, because we're very fast running out of them. So it will be tricky, Danny. As I said, like you're always going to expect Celtic to beat Ross County. I know we beat them 3-0 earlier in the season at Celtic Park, but even that game, just thinking back to it, that was the one where I think it was it the one Carter Vickers scored with a big deflected strike.
Yeah.
That was no that early. I think that was like probably midway through the second half or something. But aye, something about that. So obviously it might be tricky up there. But as I said, December and Dingwall, it's not going to be a classic. But if we get out there with another 1-0, we'll be complaining, and I'll be happy, even happier if we get through it. Even happier if we get through 90 minutes with another injury.
Aye, it's a big game, massive game, with obviously the cup final in mind as well, 4 days later. But Andy, we've went from not being able to win an away game under Postecoglou to not being able to stop winning games under Postecoglou away from home. I don't know. I'm not worried. I'm not feared of that. I think the pressure's really on this game, and without a striker, I think we might struggle a wee bit more. Because I think Ross County will just sit in. I think they'll be happy to sit for a run each. But I think if we get an early goal, it will be easy. How do you see Wednesday shaping up? Is there anybody that you'd bring in, or would you go with the same 11 for yesterday?
I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a factor of, I can't remember who I was speaking about it, but do you maybe look to bring up a striker for the youth setup, or the B team rather? I mean, I think there's got to be something under consideration. As we spoke about, Turnbull was in a difficult position, because his natural instinct is to obviously play a wee bit deeper. Or else do you maybe rotate that and look at a Bada going through the middle, or sort of change things about, Rogic in the false nine, or I don't know. I think they might tinker a wee bit. It's a game that really we've got to be winning whatever 11 we put out there. They've got to be strong enough. I think listen, if we came away with that game against Motherwell and Rogic had a hat-trick, nobody would have been surprised. I thought we could have scored more. So I think that it's not a game that massively worries me for that aspect. I think we've got enough to go up with another assured performance. It's the big thing for me is just get the 3 points and get away without any injuries. So don't make things any worse than they are. I would assume the team will be probably as close to that as possible. I did notice that when he brought off Johnston against Motherwell, we put Ralston on and push Juranovic up. Maybe that's something that we would start with. I'm not sure, just to sort of bring Ralston back in. I'm really not sure in that aspect, but I think it will be that will likely be the only change. Sort of that other wide player, Forrest, Johnston, or somebody else if neither of them are fit. I think that will really be the only difference. And I think we'll win the game. I think Darren's probably right. It will likely be a tough game. They'll know that it's something that we're missing, so we've not really got that sort of player through the middle that will give you penetrating runs and things like that, the same way that Kyle will go with or anything. But I think there'll be enough there to win the game. Again, could maybe look at Henderson. Be tough, but I would guess it'll be a sort of a low scoring, maybe a 1 or 2-0 for Celtic. And as I say, the big thing for me is just get out without any more injuries to the team.
You're quite right. Another big 3 points it would be ahead and looking into Sunday. We'll just wrap this up by going for some quick predictions. Darren, how do you predict the game will go?
I think Celtic will win 2-0. I wouldn't be surprised if we do go with what Andy says later on there about possibly playing Ralston and Juranovic maybe a bit further forward. I think Celtic will just ultimately be too strong on the night. And who'll I go for goal? You know what? We'll give Abada a goal and Tom Rogic will get on the score sheet as well. So 2-0 for me, Darren.
Andy, any advance in 2-0?
I think it was between the 1 or the 2, but since Dan said 2, I'll go 1-0. And I think Callum McGregor will get the goal.
I'll go with the 2 of you. I'll combine you two and go 3-0. I think he will play Juranovic further forward. Because I actually think this is something friend of the show Meyer has suggested to me before, but I think Juranovic could play in midfield. I think he's got the presence in the ball to be able to do it, and I think I might play him on the right to start with, obviously, and he might be more inverted than Ralston, let Ralston go down the wing. But we'll see. I think it'll be 3-0, and I'll go for, I think Abad will score as well. And you know what? Mikey Johnston's going to get that good thing to happen for him. He's going to score twice. But we're just before we do wrap up, the draw for the Europa Conference League was made today, and we got a very intriguing tie against Bodo Glimt, or Bodo and Glimt, or either or, however you say it. But Norwegian champions who actually I feel like the north of Norway, they're like for fucking miles away. And if you've never heard of them, you might have heard of them this year when they took 6 off Roma. And a very kind of intriguing tie, I would say. One that I think we should win, but it's one of the teams that you don't want to underestimate because obviously they're Norwegian champions, but I think the timing's probably a wee bit right for us. I mean, they'll be just coming in, they're just starting their pre-season. There's talk that they might lose a couple of their players in January for like teams in Europe. We might just be playing this team at the right time.
Oh no, listen, if there's ever a time you want to play a team for that end of the world, it's certainly when they're on their break at the end of the season. Obviously they play summer football. Their season I think starts in March, so it's really it's sort of perfect timing. We've all seen 1,000,001 times what Celtic are like when they need to play their qualifiers before we've really kicked the ball competitively, and very often than not it's a fucking disaster. But listen, it'll be a tough game. As you say, they're absolutely no mugs. They fucking scudded Roma 6-1. It wasn't just sort of winning a game, that was demolishing, and that's the Mourinho Roma, who his teams don't sort of, everybody will know his teams don't tend not to concede a lot of goals at the best of times. A lot of good players in their team. Everybody's probably heard the fucking cows come home about Patrick Berg. You get so back in both of them. There's a lot of good players in the team, but like you say, a January window will almost be like their summer window for a lot of their players. The season being wrapped up, the titles in the bag, a lot of them are probably looking at getting a move. Obviously, there's 1 or 2 big rumours. I think the forward that both Hindeth, as far as I'm aware, signed a deal. I think we maybe Hertha Berlin. So that's one player we don't need to worry about. Their team could look fairly different. Obviously, come the game, but again, their team could change. They could also bring in quality. You don't really know how they're going to look on that day. But I think the biggest thing is we're playing well, particularly in Europe. I think we were unlucky to go out. Obviously, the Europa League. I think we're only going to improve come the January window. And it's the more I've sort of sat on the tie and thought about it, I do think it's a very, very winnable tie. You'd be knocking out one of the better teams left in the competition as well. For my money. I think that it's a game we've got to look to be winning. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I think, if nothing, they'll be very entertaining games of football, because they're a bit like us in that sense. They play very open and attacking football. That's not a team that's going to be coming to Celtic Park and looking to stick 10 men tight behind the ball and try and beat you in the break. Like, they're going to come here to play football, and try and go toe to toe with us. But I've got no sort of doubt in my mind that we'll be in a better place then than we are now, and a backers to put them out.
I think when I was watching the draw and you're seeing the teams that are coming out, it's a lot of tricky ties there. I think, Slavia Prague would have been intriguing. Tottenham and Betis. I think it'll be Betis, because I think Tottenham will probably get put out with having to forfeit the game. But I just, when I seen it, I thought, that's some right good ties there. And I actually wanted to avoid Tel Aviv and I wanted to avoid Karabakh, because it's just trips that we don't need in February. But I kind of wanted Partizan as it was coming out, and I think it's well known it's been 17 years since, it'll be 18 by the time it comes, since we last won a knockout tie in Europe. And I think this gives us a good chance. We can't go in complacent, because if we go in complacent, they'll play us off the park, they'll take a few off us. But I'm looking forward to it. Dan, what's your thoughts on the draw? Was there anybody you particularly wanted to avoid or get, or are you happy with this one?
A bit like you say, I was sort of keen to avoid the big long trips, but at the same time, when I looked at the teams we could have got, it was I was optimistic that whoever we got, we would be favourites in the advances on our day to put most of them out, and I think we've got that with Bodo. I think Bodo are obviously like Norwegian champions 2 years in a row now, and it's going to be a tough tie. It sort of reminds me a lot of ways of the Copenhagen tie in terms of Scandinavian team who are going to be in their off season, just coming back into training, but they're going to be no mugs. And ultimately, as you've seen with the Copenhagen game, we get put out because we sort of I think probably Copenhagen at that point were probably better than what Bodo are now, but at the same point I would probably argue that Celtic team at that point is better than this Celtic team. So I think it's a pretty similar tie to that one, where if we're on our game, we should have enough, but if we're complacent, then we could get made to pay. As you mentioned, they've had the notable win against Roma, but a lot of the players have been linked with European moves, so hopefully that does materialise, and even if they do replace players, then they're still bedding in a team at that point. And it's a weird one. Like years gone by, I used to always love having the second leg at Celtic Park, but the way this Celtic team plays, I think it might actually suit us to have the first leg at Celtic Park. I know away goals don't count, but I just think in terms of having Celtic on top and going to put their foot down and try and establish a sort of big league going over to Norway would just suit this team. And to be completely honest, I think if we take any sort of league over there, it will force them to come out, and I think this team, with everybody back fully fit, will be perfect for picking a team like this off and counter attack it if we do have something to protect when we go over to Norway. And as you mentioned, I think it's another opportunity for Ange to sort of, like we spoke about his domestic away form, but if he could just become that manager that finally wins a knockout tie after Christmas. I know it's this new Conference League and some people won't have any time for it, but it's where we are at the moment, and you know what, it could be really good for this team in terms of if we do go into the Champions League or later stages of the Europa League next year, these sort of experiences are going to be absolutely vital for them. And I think it's a good game. And as I say, Danny, I think if Celtic are on their game, if we do make a few signings in January as well, then I would be pretty confident that Celtic will be able to see it through.
Definitely. I think it'll be, as I say, it'll be intriguing. I think it'll be interesting to see matches up. I think we're a better team than we were at the start of the season, and I think we went to Alkmaar, got a positive result to take us through. And that was the first leg at home, second leg away. So I think we're better than we were then. And I think, like every game, I think it's about how Celtic progress. I think their manager's fairly highly rated within football. Like, it's a great story what they've done. Obviously they had that Jens Peter Haga, who I think he's left Milan now, but obviously scored against us last year for Milan. He impressed against them in the qualifying game last year, and ended up getting signed by Milan. So he obviously they've had a few decent players. I know they've got the boy Patrick Berg, who has been linked with just about every club in Europe. So hopefully, I think Celtic were interested in him. Maybe I would put that one to bed with that draw this winter, but you never know. And there's another guy, and I've completely forgot his name, Andy. Is it Zakernagel that went to Watford, and now he's on loan at Notts Forest. He's meant to be really good. So they're probably no the team that won the league, but they did take 6 off Roma, but then again they finished behind Roma in the group. So obviously they're not perfect. It'll be good. I think it's a good test for a Celtic team, and it's a good. I'd love Ange to win a knockout game in Europe and get his, because what is it, the last 16. So there's a good chance that we could play for get the latter stages of a European trophy. Whether it's this new Europa Conference League, it'd be pretty cool to be amongst the first team to win it. But we'll probably just wrap it up there and get back to you after the county game, but definitely if we're no back before the county game, we'll no be back before the cup final, because we're all going out on Saturday for the should put a disclaimer in here that this is before any restrictions have been announced by the Scottish Government, who some podcasts will never criticise. So we are having the 4Tims Christmas Day out, which is basically us for getting steaming with a couple of select friends. We're all looking very forward to it, aren't we, boys?
Don't you fucking dare, Nicola.
So if Nicola,
Pennings, I know what pub it is. If you want to put a pint behind the bar for us, then we'll gladly accept.
Aye, and if you've ever played football for Celtic or any other club, don't turn up, or your diary might end up pretty full over the next couple of months. You'll end up doing a question and answer session somewhere. But aye, that's us. So if Nicola could just hold out for another couple of days, that would be absolutely terrific. But we'll be back when we're back, and God bless everybody, and thanks for listening.
And God bless Football Prizes for sponsoring this podcast. They have partnered with us the last few weeks, and it's been really good. We had the Larson frame shirt giveaway last week, and just as we are recording, there's been a Kyogo one that's went. But never to fear, we have another prize coming, and this one, it's not just one prize, it's not just 2 prizes, it is 3 prizes, and there's only going to be one winner. The 3 prizes for this week's competition is a signed Callum McGregor Celtic shirt, a Scott Brown signed and framed Celtic Park Street sign, plus you get your choice at any of this season's kits, so that's your home one, your away one, or the third one. So it's only going to cost $3.99 to enter, so it's less than £4, less than the price of a pint and a fairly priced boozer. And there's only 149 tickets available. Competition will end next Monday, the 20th of December at 7:30. So make sure to get your tickets as soon as you can, because I know they've sold out beforehand, especially the Larson one sold out days before. So certainly get your tickets in quick for that one. If you want to support the podcast, use the code 4Tims10, so that's the letters 4 Tims and then 10, and that'll get you 10% off. So for about £3.60 you'll be entered into this terrific competition, where not only will you be supporting this wonderful podcast, you will be giving yourself the chance at winning 3 great prizes. And with Christmas 5 days after the draw is made, then what a time it will be to win it. So thanks very much to Football Prizes for working with us, and we really appreciate it.